Hey everybody, Jackie Smiley here with Smiley Birth Services, talking about why someone might choose to have a natural birth. Why choose a natural birth? In today's world with epidurals and pain medications, why on earth would somebody want to have a natural birth? That's what I'm hoping to try to answer for you today. So I am going to be talking a lot about me personally and why I've chosen to have 3 natural births. Maybe you've chosen to have a natural birth for completely different reasons, and if so, more power to you. That's great. If you've chosen to have an epidural, if you've chosen to have an elective C-section, there is no shame here. That is not my point with this video at all, and that's not my point in any of my endeavors to help mamas. I hope to support mamas choose the best type of birth for them. So this is informational. This is talking about my experience and my choices, and to help somebody who really might look at natural birth and think you're crazy, to help understand us a little bit better and maybe make that division a little bit smaller between somebody who would choose a natural birth and somebody who wouldn't. The number one reason I chose to have natural birth is because it is safer. For some people, home birth is a very scary topic, and they think, if you have your baby at home, like, there's no emergency room, there's no operating table, like what if something happens? I promise you that with home births, midwives are very highly trained, and they have plans in place for such emergencies. So the majority of the time, home birth is completely safe. Home births are actually proven to be safer than hospital births. A big part of this is because we're not around germs as much. If you think about a hospital, there's a lot of sick people in hospitals. That's what they're for. So you take a newborn baby and a mom with wounds from birth, and there's gonna be a higher case of infection in a building full of sick people than there would be in your home. So that's one reason why home birth is safer. Another reason is because we're not introducing drugs and procedures that aren't there naturally, and so the body can work basically uninhibited, and when that happens, most of the time birth goes really smoothly. There are cases where birth doesn't go smoothly, and so if it makes you feel more comfortable to be in a birth center or hospital setting, that's wonderful. That's certainly how we felt with our first baby, especially my husband. So that's fine. But for people out there who would be like, home birth, no way, that's not safe. The research is out there, and it really does show that overall home birth is a great option, especially for moms with uncomplicated pregnancies. So even if you're having a natural birth in a hospital or a birth center setting, maybe not at home, a natural birth is also going to be safer for mom and for baby because, again, we're not introducing drugs and procedures into the birth environment that wouldn't naturally occur. So we're talking maybe pain meds or epidurals, Pitocin, breaking the bag of waters. Those types of things aren't going to occur naturally, and so when we do them, sometimes they have risks and side effects that go along with them. So for a natural birth, it's going to be healthier for mom, and it's going to be healthier for baby. Every drug that you take into your body, whether it be your supplements and vitamins that you take, or if you take over-the-counter medications, or if you take something like the epidural or narcotics to help with labor pain, those are all going to go to your baby. I'm not saying that that's the end of the world, because obviously there are lots of healthy babies out there who have had medicated births, but those things do get to your baby, and sometimes there are negative side effects that go along with those things. So overall, if you can keep drugs and interventions away from a pregnant mama, then the birth is likely to be a safer birth. There are times when medications are needed. I'm not saying anything regarding that. I'm just saying overall, the big picture, a natural, unmedicated, untampered with mother is going to have a safer outcome generally than somebody who is getting everything thrown at her. There's a lot more risk involved with that. Along with those medical interventions is cesarean. So cesarean is a relatively safe surgery, thankfully, and cesareans are definitely needed in maybe 3 to 6% of labors. So I'm very thankful that we have that available to us. However, in our country, cesarean rates are completely too high. We're talking between 30 and 40% of all labors are going to end in a cesarean. So this is alarming because with any type of surgery, it carries risks for mom and baby. So we have to remember that with cesareans, that this is a very serious surgery that can come with very serious side effects. So we want to avoid them whenever we can. And when we're trying for a natural birth and avoiding medications, you're more likely to avoid a cesarean. So again, that's going to make natural birth safer for mom and baby than medicated birth. So thinking back on my story, my mom had medicated births. My sister had, both of her babies were induced. And when we got engaged, my now husband brought up the topic of epidurals and said, of course you'll get an epidural when we have a baby. Why would you choose to go through that pain if you don't have to? And I started thinking and I said, no, I wouldn't get an epidural. And so it caused quite the argument between us. And that actually started my journey. I started researching epidurals and side effects and negative outcomes because of epidurals. And I would print them out and highlight different sections and leave them for him to read. And he finally came around and said, you know, like, I get it. If you don't want an epidural, I can see that there are reasons why. He started to kind of understand me more as a woman and some of the choices that I would make further on in our marriage. So I definitely think that that should be the first step for every single woman who finds herself pregnant or is planning a pregnancy, is to do your research, become educated about birth. The more you know about birth, the less scary it is, I promise. I know it sounds like it would be the opposite. Oh, I know all these things and now I'm afraid of all these things. But really, knowledge is power. And the more you learn about birth, the less scary it becomes. Birth is a natural process. You're not sick. There's nothing wrong with you. Your body was designed to give birth. So it really doesn't need to be something that we fear. Another aspect of birth and natural birth that is really important to me is understanding that God created the female body to birth babies. I fully believe and trust in God, and I know that He doesn't make junk. So our bodies were built to be able to carry our babies and to birth them naturally without any assistance. It's great when we do have assistance and support and all of those things, but technically we can do it all by ourselves. One thing that actually helps us in labor is God has designed these wonderful hormones and endorphins that actually kind of counteract the physical pain that you might feel. I'm not saying you don't feel the pain, but it allows your body to handle it. So, you know, I've seen this thing going around on Facebook about the female body can handle such and such amount of units of pain. I'm not sure how you would even measure that. And the birth of a baby is 100 units of pain, similar to breaking every bone in her body at the same time. And that is not true at all. Like, I don't even know how they could claim that that's scientific, but it is not true at all. There are different levels of pain and different types of pain that the body can experience. And I think it helps if you can look at labor pain more like physical exertion than the pain of breaking a bone or having some type of injury. Those are two very different things. My husband is a CrossFitter, and he is physically exerting himself to a point that I personally cannot make myself do on the daily basis. I mean, he works out so hard, and there are times where he is grunting and he's obviously sweating and making noises and feeling that burn and pushing past that pain to achieve something physically. And to me, that is a perfect picture of what labor pain is like. And that can also be helpful to a mama in labor if she can actually picture what's happening in her body, that there's a reason for it, that her body was built to do it. And then we get this wonderful gift on the other side of it. When you break your foot or something, there's no reward at the end of that. It's just pain for pain's sake, to let your body know that something is very wrong. But when you go through labor, yes, there is some pain involved, but on the other side of that is the most joyful experience of human nature, basically. And the pain stops. I remember with my home birth, I didn't experience this as much with my first two because they were premature and were taken away from me very quickly after the birth. So I was not in a very good place after either of those births. But with my home birth, I was in a lot of pain, and I'm pushing and finally get her out. And my mom thinks it's incredible. She's like, you just sat there Indian style on the floor holding her and looking at her, and she was looking at me, and I swear there were birds chirping and rainbows all around us. Like, that's my dog. It was a complete out-of-body experience, and it was all those hormones and all those endorphins that were, and adrenaline that was helping my body recover from this huge event that just took place, and also helped me bond with my baby. I didn't care who else was around me at that moment. All I cared about was that baby. So that's another huge part of natural birth that I absolutely love. Yes, you can have that in a medicated birth, but it is definitely amplified with a natural birth because your body has all of these things going on that naturally make you bond with that baby. So bonding is another huge part of why I love natural birth, because when the body is uninhibited during labor, you're going to have all those wonderful things happening that will literally make you fall in love with your baby, and hopefully fall in love with your spouse too. The three of you are all experiencing these wonderful hormones together that bond you as a family, and that's a very powerful thing. Birth is a huge life-changing moment, for good or for bad. There's very few people I've ever talked to who have had a neutral birth experience. It's either good or bad. Sure, there's going to be good parts and bad parts to the story, but an overall feeling is typically, wow, that was amazing, or wow, that was horrible. So I really hope in my business and in my personal life to really try to help families have birth be a positive experience. And I see that a lot more in a natural birth than I do in a medicated birth. Going back to when I said I didn't want an epidural, before I had done the research, for me it was an intuition. I really felt like I didn't want the epidural. And I didn't really know how to explain it, other than I was terrified of needles at the time. That was a big reason why I didn't want an epidural. But there was also this intuition in me that I don't have to have the epidural. Like, why are you assuming that I need an epidural? I can handle it. And let me tell you, mamas, you can. I am not an anomaly. I am not crazy. Every woman can handle a natural labor and a natural birth. Sure, things come up, things happen, labors get hard, moms get exhausted, and sometimes it's best to get some help at that point to make your overall experience a good one. Maybe you do need a little assistance. There is nothing wrong with that. But when planning for your birth and what you would like your birth to be like, I feel like having, how do I say this? Having that feeling inside yourself and that confidence to know that you can do it is huge. And it's also, if you have achieved a natural birth, it is the most empowering experience I've ever had personally. It really helped me become a mother, go from, I don't know, a young independent woman to a mother. Because I'd had a natural birth, I could talk to the doctors and not be intimidated by them. Because I had a natural birth, I felt I could make choices for my babies and my children. Homeschooling is a big choice. And if I hadn't had that natural birth, I don't know if I would have felt that empowerment to say, no, I am her mother. I know what's best for her. And by golly, we're going to do this. So it really did transform me, if you will. And I'm not saying that happens for every woman who has a natural birth, but it can and it should. I really hope that every mama can have that support system in place so that they can feel that type of empowerment, because it's amazing. And I want that for every mama, to feel that empowerment and know that you are this baby's mother and that you can parent this baby the way only you can. God knows what's best. He gave you this child and made you this child's mother for a reason. So now I'm getting on a soapbox, but birth can be that moment that transforms you into the mother that you need to be for your child. So I don't make light of it. Obviously, I think it's very important. I hope this has given you a little bit of insight today into why I've chosen to have natural births and why someone else might choose to have a natural birth, so that you can support them and encourage them that yes, you can do this. You were meant to do this. Trust in your body, trust in the process. And if you need someone like that in your life, I would be more than honored to be one of your cheerleaders. I hope you found this helpful today, and if you like this video or some of my other videos, I would really encourage you to click the like button, the thumbs up, and the little bell for the notifications. That will help you get future videos that I put out. So I appreciate your watching and your support, and we will see you back here next week. Thanks.